Sure. All right. Well, hello, everybody. I hope we're all indoors. I chose to just sort of call everybody to Zoom just because we didn't know what the roads would be like. I have no idea where you guys are exactly coming from, and in so much that we start at 6 and we don't want you to be in any kind of dangerous road situation. This is just as straightforward as we can. That said, I am going to be giving you a tour. I'm going to be moving about the building, so I am going to be picking up the laptop and moving us around and that kind of stuff, because we have a couple of rooms to visit this evening just to talk about the presentation that we're going to have you guys working on for the next basically 2 months, getting what is called a developmental portfolio in accordance to the necessities of your program, meaning what you're studying requires different things. In other words, like if you're studying art history, or you're studying music, or you're studying studio art, or you're studying journalism, or those different things, while the critical fundamental skills might have crossover, there might be some very specific things that we need to address with those pathways and disciplines. The developmental portfolio is maybe a new term that you may not have heard anybody say before. You may know what it is once I describe it, but maybe not heard that term before, developmental portfolio, to describe it. Basically, you've heard me perhaps talk about creativity, and creativity being this sort of skill set that we work on, that it's not a personality trait or a genetic thing. It's a skill, just like all kinds of other things. Now, there are certain, I guess, environmental or certain things that we learn at a very young age that influence us one direction or another when it comes to our creativity. But we still have to train, we still have to practice, and we still have to do a lot of work to refine and get better at creativity, because it is a skill. And so the skill comes with the techniques that we learn and the experience that we live, because technique plus the experience, that is how you come to creativity. Because the technique alone is just that. It's just a mechanical process. Playing a piano, just playing the notes isn't enough. You have to come to it with some sense of experience. Even if that experience isn't musical experience, it's some other kind of life experience that you're bringing to the performance. Same for the arts, visual arts, and the same for television and all of the other creative activities. We have these techniques that we learn, but then we sort of put our experiences to those techniques. And that's where we get the individuality. That's where the kind of uniqueness comes from. Well, as we're beginning, basically in the sort of professional level of this training here at the university, we're teaching you all kinds of new techniques. You're in these first couple of years, you might even say that you're being saturated with all of these techniques and so on. That mostly we're addressing that technique side, and you're gathering experiences, but they really haven't gelled together in the way they're going to. They really are going to begin to gel together over the next 5 and even 10 and 20 years. Your experiences and your techniques and the craft and the form and the content that you use are all going to really have this sort of ebb and flow to them. Well, right now you're at the sort of sort of technique and building these skills. And what it is, it's all potential. What you guys are all about is potential. So what you are actually offering when you are new, graduates, you're a couple of years away from that. But when you're a new graduate, probably one of the best things you have to offer someone as evidence that you're going to be great is your potential. Look how far I've come in the last couple of years, how much I've learned and absorbed. Just imagine how far I'm going to go in the next couple of years. You're identifying this sort of arc. You're also demonstrating your incredible ability to learn. Learning is not something that everybody does well. But if you are able to demonstrate that you can pick up on things and learn very quickly and adapt, that again is a wonderful trait, and people will want you to be part of their team. So all of these things contribute to not only your own empowerment and feeling good about what you do, but it contributes to how people view you and your value to them as far as work goes. And so there's one of those answers as how do I find work as an artist? One of it has to do with being able to adapt and being able to learn very quickly and to be able to demonstrate your potential at any level. When I was interviewed here in 2018, I was just thinking about it. It was 5 years already. It doesn't seem like that long, but really, the people that were interviewing next to me, many of them were likely much older than I was, for one thing, but also they had the same skill sets. They all had master's degrees. They all had the MFA. They all probably had beautiful portfolios, so on and so forth. But for some reason, the faculty here and the administration saw potential in me. And that's what I was sort of trying to portray. I was saying, I can bring all of these things. I want to bring all of these things. And so that's what I was highlighting. And I truly believe that is why I was selected to and offered to come here. That's sort of just a personal kind of anecdote about how that kind of comes together, and how even in the middle of your career like mine, talking about your learning, talking about your potential is really important. Well, this is where the developmental portfolio comes in. You guys have been doing this fundamental stuff, working the fundamentals, doing the basic exercises, the experiments, the design experiments, that 110 class where you're doing this integrated work and so on. And it's all seems pretty basic, and it's all skill building. So what do you do with it, right? I mean, it doesn't seem like the kind of stuff you would bring out in a professional interview, because it's sort of like, well, this is like construction paper, some of it, and some of it isn't exactly like in my creative wheelhouse, and I did it like 4 years ago. Well, so what's the value of those things when you have them? The value is demonstrating the trajectory that you're on, because it shows how your learning has been escalating at such a dramatic rate. Right now, from day to day, week to week, you guys are learning like huge amount of information and gaining tremendous amount of experiences. And so your arc is like this angle. It's like going up like that. As you continue in your career, it's going to level off more like this. It's still going to increase. You still want to insist on learning and growing each day, not growing larger, but growing in depth, not growing in complexity and the way in subtlety, really. But right now, you guys are like this, and we want to celebrate that. That's a highlight. We want to show, man, you're going like you're spiking right now. Developmental portfolio is all about that. You compare work from 2 years ago to now, and what you're doing is you're putting it in the context in a presentation, much like what I'm doing right now. I'm talking and you can't see anything behind me, but imagine I had artwork behind me. I would be talking about my own work, and there would be slides that are appearing behind me. However I got them there, whether it was a green screen, whether I was on Keynote, and I was actually just, I was on Zoom and actually sharing screen. And you just saw a cube of my face up here, and the rest of the screen here was my artwork. It could be the really contemporary way to do it. Those of you with I would say a 55-inch or larger television can do this sort of Mandalorian style. I don't know if many of you guys know, but most of that, the computer graphics in that are done in these gigantic LED rooms where it's not green screen that you're seeing. It's actually TV. And I've experimented with it a little bit at my place. I have this large 4K 65-inch LED, and I've sat in front of it just like you're seeing here and put images behind me. And it looks like I'm on a green screen, or even better, I can make it look like I'm actually there because the light is bouncing off of me from the TV. So it's really kind of cool. So you can do all kinds of ways, which I will help anybody work on those things. That's where I will play the part over the next several months to help you build these things. This is not something that we're just sort of sending you off on the boat in the middle of the ocean and saying, row your way back with this wonderful video. No. What we did over these past few weeks is sort of talk to you about the arts, talk to you about the kind of way of addressing it, the kind of expectation that may be coming your way when you move into the upper division. And now what I'm talking about is how to present all of the work that you've been doing and how it is so important to where you're going, because it informs you. It's showing your trajectory. It's sort of like that running, that run before you jump over the canyon. This is all this work has been you're backed up, and now you're running for it. So the developmental portfolio is all about that. You're talking about how you have changed, what your learning has been all about, and how that has been influencing your intentions moving forward. So that's the basics of what we're going to be trying to do with everybody. Now, like I said, that presentation is going to take on a different feel depending on your individual path of study. Not so much that everyone's going to have their own rules, but it will probably be department based. So, we will get we'll have influence from the various departments in terms of just what sort of things that are going to be important. The presentation might not necessarily be, one thing or another. There may be a different sort of format that we're asked to do for a particular department. That's cool. I will help build that with you. I want to show you how to do these things because you'll be asked to make them all the time. And if you can do them self-sufficiently, the world's open to you. You can do these kinds of revisions all the time. You can even help others and do things like workshops and teach people how to make them as well. Because believe it or not, people don't know how to do this stuff. It seems pretty straightforward, but the more I've gone around, the more I understand that even people that supposedly do these things for a living, presentations behind screens, well, you guys have all been to them. I can't see anybody's face, but I would imagine people are going, yeah, I've been to really boring PowerPoints where they suck. Or maybe they're like what I'm doing. I'm just a floating head on a black body with a gray wall behind me. That's not very, very fun to watch either. So let's change it up a little bit. Let's go ahead and share some screen here. And I'll just share the desktop for right now, which is going to be kind of weird because it's going to be sharing this whole big space here. You are sharing your screen. Yes, I am. Okay, so everybody sees my screen. Just one person do a thumbs up for me, so I'm sure that it's all working right. Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate it. Okay, so there are several things that we need to have to do to get ready for these things. Now, I'm going to be covering more of a visual angle, but you'll see I'll include a video in here as well. So if you're in the performance areas or you're needing to include moving imagery or those kinds of things, you can apply it this way as well. Like I said, I will be getting more and more specific details as we continue to move forward on some of this stuff. That said, when you're doing any kind of presentation like this, where you're gathering and you're getting ready to do a talk, let's just say this is a talk about you. Somebody says, you know, hey, Jesse, come on in and do a presentation. We want you to go to a high school and talk about your experiences in your first 2 years at university. Can you do that? Go back to your alma mater or whatever, and we want you to give a presentation on how things have gone for you in those first couple of years, right? So you're having to do whatever the presentation is. You got to put something together, right? And you don't want to just sit there and talk. You know very well that when you were back in that position, you need pictures, you need some visuals, you need something going on. And these presentation software, they are helpful because you can use them to really supplement what you're saying. One of the big mistakes that are made in these presentations is the sort of style where they're standing here and they got a presentation behind them and it's words. It's like there's a chart or something back here and it says, you know, I don't know, 5 ways to do your stuff better. And then it has like bullet points of the 5 ways. And what the talker says is, I'm going to share with you 5 ways of doing stuff better. Number 1, and they're spending 20 minutes, but the picture has told you everything in like 2 seconds. So they're going through 20 minutes of talking about a slide that gave you the information. Why am I looking at the slide if you're telling me? I would much rather see something that is maybe more metaphorically connected to it, maybe something that gives me other information besides what I'm talking about, right? So that you can kind of do 2 things at one time. That's where these images come into. It's not necessarily about put a picture up there and talk about it. It's more like put an image up there that relates to what you're talking about and then talk about the topic. The picture is really there to illuminate what you're saying. So if I'm talking about my artwork, I'm not going to talk about the piece of art that's there. I'm going to have a piece of art that represents what I'm talking about, but then I'm going to talk about the art overall. So I'll give you an example of how that's done in just a moment, or at least how I approach it in a moment. Others approach it differently, but in the grander scheme, it's all done basically like what I'm about to show you. If it's done, I guess, in a sensitive way, sensitive to the audience. So I use Keynote. PowerPoint is much the same. I prefer Keynote because it's a much more intuitive piece of software for me. There's nothing wrong with PowerPoint. I don't begrudge it at all. It's just, I prefer the Keynote. Both of them work pretty much the same. You can do everything that I'm about to do here in PowerPoint. And there you go. So if you have a Mac computer, an Apple computer, Keynote's probably the way to go because it's right built in there. You already have it. It's a powerful presentation tool. PowerPoint works on a Mac as well. So if you have a Mac, you still use PowerPoint. Keynote doesn't work on a PC, I'm pretty sure. So you may have some options there. You have the lab here, which is always open. So just bear that in mind. So I'm going to open up this piece of software called Keynote, and it is, like I said, it's pretty much the, I say pretty much, but it's the Apple version of PowerPoint. And you get all of these basic backgrounds there. Ignore the ones down here. These are all for, you know, sort of goofy things. The ones you really want to pay attention to are the ones right here on the top. They're probably the most clean designs that you can use. And the reason why I'm recommending those is because you don't want the background to be what people are watching. It's your artwork, it's you. If you have some crazy, you know, dynamic rainbow going on behind you, it's just distracting and it's going to take away from the art or the images that you have, which is probably not what you're hoping for. You're hoping that the work, or at least the information that you're trying to get across, is what they see. So I'm just going to choose the basic black, and we're going to use the wide 16:9 over here. It does have the 4:3 standard, but we're going to use wide because most of the time, most of these days, we work with the LEDs that are 16:9 format. That means 16 parts wide by 9 parts tall. That's what 16:9 means. 16 wide, 9 tall. So I choose black and I'll go to create. Now, I know for some of you, this is a super duper overview because you already know how to do this stuff. So what we have is the window, and go ahead and move us out of the way here. There we go. I'm gonna minimize us. That way we have that. Yeah, there we go. So we have the basic, which is called the title slide or the main slide. Here are all of the listings of slide, which you can see, we just have the one. And over here is what would be the properties panel, which shows you all the information about what you're doing. First thing that I'm going to show you is basically to delete all of this stuff. You don't necessarily need it because we just want to customize it anyway. That's great if you want to just plug and play, but it's rarely in the right spot for what we want to do. So I ended up just deleting it. I just selected it and hit the delete button. That's pretty much all we do. Now we want to replace it with something. So we come up to the top here where it reads text and we click. And by hitting that, we get in the bottom in the main viewer, something called the text. That's just a text box. When that happens, as it's activated, you'll see over here where I was saying the properties is, it shows us all the stuff that's relevant to text. Things like the font or the typeface, how it's presented, regular, bold, italic, stuff like that. You can also do like sample here. You can kind of force it to be bold or quickly jump it to italic, stuff like that. So well, I'm just going to use something very simple like Helvetica New. Obviously, I'm screened up at 50%, so I know this isn't quite as small as it looks, but I'm going to go with something like let's go with 54 on the text size. And it's going to be my name, so let's make sure my name is at least medium size as far as width. Thickness is can be a tone in and of itself. And so I'll just type my name here. Oops. Ooh, those self-corrects, man. Especially when you're trying to text and you're like, stop it. Don't self-correct me. A-L-E-X-A-N-D-E-R. Yes, I often like just say my name is A. Alexander. Especially when you're in a loud, crowded space. Aaron is really hard to say for people to hear sometimes. Because it starts with those vowels. So anyway, so I have my name. That's a prerequisite. On this, you have to have your name on every slide. You don't want people to get lost or ever think that it's not you. So I have my name, and the next thing I want to do is put one bit of contact information or one bit of thing. It can be a lot of different things. I don't recommend it be your cell phone, because you don't want people to blow you up on text and messaging and stuff like that. If you have a website, that's cool. If you've got, Instagram, that's cool because people can DM you and all that stuff if they want. But even on my sort of wallet card, my little, I guess they call them business cards still, but on those cards, I don't put a phone number. If I want to give someone my cell, I'll write it on the card. I always just use my website and an email at the most. I'll use email, but so I'm just going to put the website, which even though it's obligatory, we just put www, so it announces it's a website. And there's another reason why I do this, because there's a little cool automatic thing that happens. AARON, Alexander, .net. If you can get your name .com.net, get it. Whether you have a website, whether you intend to get a website, by your name in a URL form, just your name, not Aaron, whatever 358 11 12, whatever. If you can get just as clean as possible, www.aaronalexander.net. I've owned it for years. It cost me like $6 a year to own. It's worth it to own it, and I do use it. But I own other URLs that I don't have websites for, but I intend to use them. Okay, so I have these two things. They're not the same size, and that's by design because I don't want them to compete in size. But just for, what did I make the other one? 54? So I'll make this one half the size, which would be 54, 20. Wait, whoops. It'd be 28, or no, 27. All right, so 27 is half the size of that. Now, I think Alexander looks still a little bit too heavy, so I'm gonna make it light, not italic, light, to help balance them out yet a little bit more. There's other things you can do to kind of play around with it. I'm just showing you where some of these tools are, all the cool stuff you can do. See how I'm spreading out the name and letters and stuff like that. Experiment with it. What I would definitely advise you against is using multiple typefaces, like more than one font. Notice how I'm just using one typeface, but using it in two different styles. So I've got just Helvetica, which is basically vanilla ice cream when it comes to type, but I'm using a light, and I might even go even lighter than that. Let's go with thin. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Now it looks a little bit better. I wanted some contrast there against the smaller aaronalexander.net. Okay, so that looks good. And so I have the contrast Alexander, aaronalexander.net, but notice what it did here. It actually underlined it. So whenever I put an actual URL in like that, Keynote automatically sees it as a website and creates the link. I can remove it if I don't want it to be linked, but this is a good thing though. If I want to go to it in the middle of my presentation, just digress and go, let me take you to my website real quick. I could do that if I wanted to. Any other information that you intend to have on all the slides. Now, if I wanted a email address or any other thing, I would put it now, because what I'm creating is called a master slide, like the master key. And so the decision that I make now, I do want to consider so that I don't have to keep repeating it or doing anything else to it on the next several slides, because I want this to sort of act as like a letterhead, kind of like as a logo in a way. So I have that. Now, I need something that announces it. This is my first picture. I'm going to start out. I could do some type here or any other thing, but I made that folder full of pictures. So let's go take a look at it. So I have these images that I put into a folder called Sample for Keynote. I put that folder on the desktop so that I could easily find it. So that folder is right here. And I opened it up and I put 5 pictures in there and then a video. So just to get things set up, you'll have your artwork in a folder. When it's easy to find like that, it gives you much less of a headache, I guess. Okay, so I got to pick one of these images, and so I'll choose one, drag and drop it into the window. So I'll click and delete it again just to show you that slower. I'll click, drag, whoops, click, drag, drop. That's all you have to do is move it out of the way, click, drag, and drop. Pretty simple. Now I'll just bring it over. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. Maybe to 75 so I can see a little bit better. Yeah, so I'm going to grab this and enlarge it so it goes out to the very edge, maybe leaving a little bit of border here. I'm resizing it, and what's nice is Keynote does maintain what's called an aspect ratio. It doesn't distort it automatically. You have to try to distort it. That means squish it or make it extra long or any of those kinds of things. I hope I'm not using language that is confusing anybody. But so all I'm doing now is kind of making a little border around, a black border around the picture. So there we go. Now, anytime that you want to preview what you're doing, like to see what others would see when you're presenting, all you have to do is go up and hit the play button. Right here is a play button, and what it does is it just shows you a preview of what everybody else would be seeing. And you can see, look, it's a picture, but where's my name, right? Well, as you guys might have already guessed, I put this picture in after I did the name, so therefore, layers-wise, the picture is sitting on top of the text. So I have to tell it to move the picture underneath the text. So I select the picture, and I go up to arrange, and I tell it send it to back. hopefully this is all sounding pretty intuitive and pretty normal. I didn't move the text forward. I threw the picture backward. And now I'll press play, and you'll see this is what the audience would see if I were to be giving my presentation. This would be behind me, or this would be in front of them as I'm talking about the beginnings of my work. Welcome to this talk, and so on and so forth. Now, there might be one last thing that I want to do with my name, and that has to do with, I may not have a dark background on all of my pictures. Right now, this works just fine because I have a dark background. You can see the name pops out fairly well because all of this is relatively dark. But if this wasn't dark, if it was kind of bright, my name would kind of get washed out. So I have to do something about that so that it looks good here, but also when there's a light background, it still looks good. So what I will do, by the way, I'm hitting exit to come out of the preview. I'm going to select the text here, and hang on, I'm covering something up here. Here it is. Under style, you will see you can do things to the text. So you click on the text and go to the style, which is next to the text button. And you'll see down here, there's shadows, there's borders. You can do reflections and things like that. I find that just a simple drop shadow done with the default is plenty of separation when there is a lighter background there. Again, I am not trying to make things look, dazzling. I'm trying to make things look clean and I don't want the viewer to notice that I'm doing something. One moment, we've got a chat or two. If we still have some work we need to digitize, would it be possible to use the studio to take a picture? Absolutely, Jesse. I can see. Danielle can see. Good. Thank you. Yes, and I will be bringing you guys to those rooms to show you where they are too. And you can make appointments with me and I will help you make those photos in the studio. Because that's kind of what I know how to do pretty well, is handle a camera. I've done it a few times in my life. But thank you for asking, and I will be available to help you to do those things. So yes, that's exactly what we want to have you guys do. But I'll take you to those rooms in just a moment once I'm done kind of fiddling around with this. There's not too much more of this. Just setting this up takes the longest amount of time, as you'll see. So now I've got it all set up. I'll preview it one more time. You could see a subtle difference in the name now, but it's pretty much, going to be, still has the same look with the lighter name with the darker background. Now you will want to do it your own way. I didn't put this together to tell you, do it like this. This is how I do it. I like this format. I think this looks nice. You might think something else looks nice. So make it how you think it looks nice. And then if others say, oh, that's kind of strange, be okay with that. If this is how you want to portray your work that way and own it. This is how I like to portray my work. I'm just giving you an example, not a mandate on how to do it. So now I need to make the second slide. Okay, so I have a slide and I'm ready to make slide number 2. So I've done all this work. The last thing I want to do is have to do it all over again. So what I'm going to do is come over to the number 1 here. I'm going to hold down the Option key when I'm going to do this. So I'm holding down an Option key, which is on a Macintosh or on most keyboards, you have the space bar. On either side is sort of a command key, or I guess in PC it's control key. And next to that is usually a key called Option. And that is what universally will let you do what I'm about to do. When I hold down Option, I click, notice how it lets me just duplicate automatically. I can do that over and over and over again if I like. So I hold down Option. I'll go ahead and delete that. I hold down Option and I click and drag, and it lets me just sort of pull a copy of it out of there. Now that I've done that, I can see there's no difference between these two. It's effectively the same slide. So on the second one, I want my name to stay the same, but I want the picture to change. So instinct might say, okay, cool. We just delete the picture and replace it. And that's fine. We could do that, but we would still have to figure out how to get the picture in there just right. There's a faster way to do it. It is by taking, making a click on the picture, and then under image, so I've clicked the picture, I've highlighted it, you could tell because of this, I go image, replace. And so what that's going to do, it's going to take me to the folder from which I got the image originally. Aha, this is why he wants us to put it all into the same folder, because it makes it super easy. I don't have to go searching around the computer all over the place for the next picture. So let's say I want the next picture to be that one. Okay, so I want that one, and I hit insert. It just puts it right over the top, makes it exactly the same size, and there's no movement to it at all. So again, when I see play and I hit the advance button, kind of move the names out of the way here, and I hit the advance button, it goes to the next slide, basically doesn't look like the name has changed at all. So I go backward, I go forward. It just looks like I've moved the image. It looks like the name stayed the same, which in fact, the name is being duplicated as well. You just can't tell because it's in the exact same spot each time. Plus, I was able to do it super quick. If I wasn't talking, I could do it even more super quick. So we do it again. Option, click, drag, select, replace. Now I'm going to choose a video though, and I'm going to hit insert. So I hit the video, made it insert, and it does just the same. It places it exactly where it was, the other one was. I'll hit play, and it will show me the image. Only this time I do have to click on it to make the video play. But it plays just fine. Gives me a way to play it for a little bit. And I can stop it in the middle of my talk. You see why I have the drop shadow on this? If I didn't have that drop shadow, my name would start to disappear a little bit. So I have a video here that'll play as long as I want it to play. I have audio, I can control the audio up and down, so on and so forth. Right? When I'm done, I don't have to finish the video. I can be talking. When I'm done, I just advance to another slide, and I'd be, continuing with my presentation. Now, if I want to go to the next image, I'm on image 2, image 3, so on and so forth. I don't have to keep going from this one. I could go from any of these. So I can effectively go from number 2, drag a copy of it down here. So let's say I wanted to come back to this one. I went to this, and then I said, well, so there's this image here that I was working with, and this is a still image from a performance that I was doing. And I was making these photographs in real time in front of an audience. And what was really happening was I was focusing, and I was refocusing and moving light around while this electronic musician was doing his stuff. And so I could then play the video while I'm talking about it a little bit. And then when I'm done, I can basically come right back to the original image, but I'm actually going forward because I duplicated it. Making sense? It can look a little more complex there. So I can kind of look like I went aside here and then came back to the presentation again. And then, of course, you just keep duplicating as you go. So I can hit Option now and duplicate it again, click, replace, and pick the last image, which, yeah, that one. I think there's that. And so, when I'm thinking about it, maybe this one isn't a good first image. Maybe what I want to do is have something a little more general as the first image. Well, that's cool. I can still do that. So if I want to do that and I want to put an image up above, it's the same process. I hit click. I'm clicked on number 2, and I drug it way up here, and I clicked it up there. So now I just put a slide above what used to be number 1. It pushed everything down. I think that's pretty cool. Now I can click on the image that's now number 1, which again is a duplicate, hit replace, and choose a different picture, and then hit insert. Now it did reformat the picture to fit the screen. But I have more of this picture than it really, than it's showing. Because if I come back off of it and again, pull this down so I can see the rest of it, and hit edit mask, because that's basically what it's doing. It's putting a mask on it, or remove background. I can hit edit mask and you can see I've got the picture basically in a mask. So if I do that, I can redesign the mask to suit what I need it to be. So I'm going to mask it like something like that. Basically looks like I'm cropping it. And all of these things I am more than happy to, to help you guys when you get to this point in your building of your presentation to help you make them. So I might start my last one like this. And by the way, I didn't pre-plan. I mean, I didn't design any of this stuff, so it is a little bit sloppy. But here you go. This is my great presentation. So I have my name here. I'll kind of hide that. I have my name here. I'm talking about stuff. There's me. There's Ryan, and there's people in our audience, and I'm talking about this project that we do, which is a collaboration. And I continue to discuss about these points that we're making, and so on and so forth. I'll continue forward talking about the imagery that we make. Then I'll go to something like a video and give you an example of what the audio sounded like in a way. Sounded very industrial, very airy, very guttural at times. Maybe I'll shut up for a minute, allow the audience to kind of look at what I'm doing. Right? I could have that much longer, and I could fade the audio out, so it would just keep moving behind me. But either way, I can then come back to the original picture and say this, we go around the state doing this and that, and so on. And thank you guys very much for listening to my presentation. Check out my website if you want. And then my presentation's over. Everybody claps. I feel good about myself. And there you go. That's the end. So that's building it, which is as simple as hopefully I made it look. I hope I made it look very simple. The hard part, really, the challenge is deciding what goes into it and then preparing everything for it. And then what am I going to say? The building of the thing that I just did, it only took time because I was explaining each step as I went. But really, it is as simple as it looks. Now, it's a little bit hard to gauge just by names here, but have any of you been into the room where the scanner is, where you can scan artwork? No, I have not. Okay. Okay, well, at least two people have not, so we're going to go and take a look at that. So I am walking out of the 129, and I am effectively heading toward the lobby area now. And so through here this is actually this whole room back here with the lobby and the student lounge and the room with the red doors. This is all called 107, and the room with the red doors, with the lights off anyway, it's called 107, and we call it the Student Media Studio because it is where we do student media and stuff like that. Well, in here we have a large format scanner, okay? And this scans up to 11 by 17, which is really ideal for sketchbooks and even newspapers and tear sheets and stuff like that, to do as a flat platform. So this is even a better tool to use than a camera for copying drawings, like flat drawings from a sketchbook and stuff, because it lays perfectly flat. When it scans, the light is perfectly clear, it's perfectly bright and even. It gives you no wrinkles or anything like that, and it automatically digitizes it for you. And to set it up is super, super simple. You just come to the computer, and as all the student computers do, they get started up with a student account. And the student account is student. And the password for the student account is student. So it should be pretty straightforward for you there. It's student and student. Most of mine are 19 by 24. That's okay. We have other ways of doing them. Even 19 by 24, you could do in pieces on this and seam them together in some cases. So you have a lot of different options. We're going to go into another room, though, where we can do larger sizes, which I'll show you. We build these things out slowly because these didn't exist. So, you know, as we're doing these, they get better and better. So this room was a lot of different things, and we've managed to kind of evolve it into what it is, which is more like a finishing room. We have a large format printer and stuff like that we use, that Garcia uses with designers and doing, we use it for doing like the exhibition posters. And by the way, when the graduates this year do theirs, we do the post. This is where we do the posters for the gallery and stuff like that. So this is starting up. It's definitely faster than the ones in the Lark. My goodness, have any of you guys ever tried to go into the Lark and start up those computers? Wow, you can like go home, do all your laundry, come back and wait another 10 minutes. It should be ready. And that's not exaggerating, because I tested it one time. They are slow. I don't know why. What I don't understand is, why don't they just start them up in the morning and have them going already? That part I don't quite know. But anyway, hopefully you guys are able to see where it says student, and you just click on student, and right here you hit student, S-T-U-D-E-N-T, student, and we hit return. And it should open up relatively simply and clearly in just a minute. Now, there's no real software on here. It's not meant to come in and edit on. What it's for is to do two things. One, to scan PDFs or JPEGs or things that are already prepared, or to print. Now, the printer over here is big printer, and we don't want anybody just kind of going in and printing their resume on 42-inch paper. That would be inefficient and not very nice to everybody else. So we don't have you do that. We have other ways we can print stuff like that. So it's mostly, we use this for the scanner for everybody. So when you're looking at the screen, it looks something like that. And down here, see if I can get my thing close to it. Yeah. So you can maybe see down here, it says Epson scan. I don't know if you can see that. Hang on. Okay. Get a little bit of better angle. There we go. How about that? Something like that. And then I'll highlight Epson scan. Nothing like working on the fly here. I'll highlight Epson scan and I'll click on it. And what happens is it goes to connect to scanner. And so you can see there, what you get is a window, which is a preview. And so the preview is basically just a picture of what was last on the scanner. And so this gives you an idea when you put stuff on there of where your stuff is on the tray there. So what I want to do is put something on the tray. So let's do something like, oh, I don't know, we'll put this on there, this little rolly thing, because even though it's not two-dimensional, we'll still be able to get a scan of it. You see that, how I just set it down there like that? So I'll put it down there like that, and then I'll come over here and I'm going to hit preview. This would be much easier if you guys were here, but that's okay. I'm getting to try something different. So I hit preview. And so what it's going to do is it's going to do scan in progress. All of this should be pretty straightforward. I'm not really thinking you wouldn't know how to do it. It's just, where are the buttons is what I really want to highlight for you. And of course, I'm here all the time. So, and most, people who are around know how to do this as well. So you do it once and you pretty much know how to do it all the way. Okay, so there's that, there's a picture of that little roll of paper that I just put down there. As you can see, it just kind of did it. And hopefully you can see there's a little box with these sort of marching ants that go around it. That's called a marquee. And what you want to do, and I doubt you'll be able to see me do this, but I'll do it anyway. We'll try. Hopefully you'll get a picture of it, is to draw the marquee around what you want to scan. So I'll pull it around here and I'll pull it down because I don't need to scan everything. If I had this whole thing covered with artwork, then I'd want to scan the whole bed. But because I've only got it covered with just this area, I can kind of make the box smaller. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just drawing the box if I can get a hold of it. There it is. Oh, that's what I did it. There we go. Make the box smaller to identify that's what I want to scan, actually scan, because it didn't scan, it just did a preview. So now, if I have all of the settings set to default, which it should always be on, it should be it should be 48 bits per color. That's color. You're not going to memorize this anyway, but it should all be set there because nobody changes it. It's 300 DPI, resolution quality should be high, and then your scanning is a TIFF. It's automatically going to save it to a folder that's preset on here, and I'll show you where that is. So once you're ready, you just hit scan. And depending on how much stuff you have on there, that'll determine how long it takes to do the scanning for you. Okay, once it's done with its scanning, it pulls up a window that says, hey, you got a scan done. That window is the folder which is called 10,000 XL, which is what the scanner is. The scanner is 10,000 XL. The folder just lives right there on the desktop for you. You look inside of it and you can see we have a bunch of other things in the folder, but you can see up at the top, oops, sorry guys. See right here, this is the picture. If I double click on it, it should open and there's the scan of that, and it looks really clean, doesn't it? There's no like, actually, you know what? I used to do this whole project for one of my bodies of work, which had to do with using a scanner as a camera. I'll have to show some of you guys that. I haven't done those for a while. I used to do human beings. I would scan people's whole bodies using this stuff. I totally forgot about that, but I should share that with people. It just occurred to me. Anyway, so you have that. Now you just have to save it to your jump drive or hard drive or whatnot, and you've got your portfolio pieces right there. You could bring them into Photoshop if you know how to use Photoshop and adjust them and tweak them a little bit and make them a little bit more accurate. The point of your slides for your images is to make them look as close to what they really look like as possible. Clearly, you don't want them to look worse, but you also don't want them to look better than they really are. You don't want them to look more colorful or sharper than they really are, because that's a disappointment. Somebody sees your stuff and they see it in person and they're like, oh, wow, this looked much better in the photo. That's not what you want. So you really want to kind of calibrate what your slides look like based off of what the object really looks like. So that's the measure that you're using. It is important to remember to take your stuff off of the scanner when you're done. We all the time are taking stuff off of the scanner that people walked away when it's closed and forgot their portfolio or whatever. Also, you guys don't have to delete anything, but just know that every week or so, either I come in or somebody comes in and we delete everything from that folder just to keep the drive, clear so it doesn't fill up or anything like that. So you really do want to scan, bring your whatever you're going to save onto, put it into the back of the Mac and save. And there you go. Are there any general questions? Clearly, this would have been better if you're standing right here. I could show you more detail, but hopefully that was acceptable as far as showing you the scanner. And we'll have other opportunities to look at it together as well. But is there anything that it seems like I skipped? Because I might have skipped something and not realize it. How would you know? Because if you haven't used the scanner before, you probably wouldn't know if I skipped anything. I don't think I did. It's pretty straightforward. You log in, you open up the little scanning software, you put your stuff onto the flatbed, you hit preview, you draw the square around what you want to scan. You make sure it's in the default settings, which are all high quality. You click scan, it scans it. You take it from the folder and you put it onto your saving drive. It's supposed to be a mechanical process. It's not supposed to be a creative process at all. That's why it's so good to use for stuff like this. Okay, so this is the room. This is also a room where we do have, you know, the large cutting table here with the mat, with this healable mat surface here. Plenty of X-Acto knives. Use a sharp X-Acto knife every time because sharp X-Actos don't cut you. It's the dull ones that will cut you. Also, you know, just take care of the stuff in here. We do have supplies that are preset for you, but those supplies are for everybody. So, you know, make sure you're not like abusing and, you know, messing things up. I know that I'm talking to the people who won't do that, but, you know, I say it anyway. So coming out into the lobby again, I'm going to take us back to where we can make photographs of larger things. So you have the scanner. Where we're headed is toward the photography area, where we have two different setups. We have one setup that will be good for using for 3D, for like sculptures and ceramics and 3D projects and stuff like that. But there's also a setup over here to do that, like Jesse's like large 19 by 26 drawings. So in this room, this is the room that is adjacent to the drawing room, which is over here. And then I just came through what is the photo studio here. This is a sort of interim room. It's mostly going to be when we're finished with everything. It's going to be the sort of video capture room where we'll be able to do a lot of different things, including the green screen, including that LED thing. We'll get something real special for that to be able to do the LED stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at the setup for the 3D. So what we have here, kind of set this on the chair here. All right, so what we have here is what's called a seamless backdrop here. And I need to secure it down. Looks like the thing is taken off, but it's basically just a piece of vinyl that's smooth, sort of at a curve. And you would put your artwork like right here. And so what it'll look like is it'll just look like an endless background. It won't have like a line or horizon or anything there. The reason I have these set up this way, I have a card set right here. I don't know how many of you have taken my photo class. I can't see everybody who's here, but I have a card right here that has white and then it has silver right here. This is called a reflector in the photo world. And so what we do is we put it on the side here. And this is the shadow side of our work. Then we just simply turn this light on. I think it's plugged in. Or is it? No. No. Somebody stole our light bulbs. The light bulbs are out. I'll have to put new light bulbs in there. But you would just turn this on, and it literally is in the position right now where I've put it to light basically at the 45-degree angle, which is a very, sort of, I guess you could say, traditional way to light. And what's going to happen is the light from here is going to shine down on your object. The other light that doesn't hit the object is going to go over here, and it's going to hit this reflector. Part of it's going to hit the silver, part of it's going to hit the white. More of the light's going to bounce off silver because silver is more reflective. You can even see me shining it around. You can see how it's making things lighter and darker even in the screen. And then the white will be a softer one. So it's going to reflect sort of back here, giving you a really nice separation there. This kind of setup I used years and years ago when I was in college myself. I did a pretty good little side thing for like the sculptors and the painters and stuff like that, because I set something like this up in my apartment, and you know, all the like studio people would come by with their portfolios and their boxes of stuff and hang out, and you know, I'd make photos of their stuff, and you know, and then they'd give me money. So it was all pretty good. So anyway, this should be a pretty easy thing to use. I'm going to continue to set it up so it's really more of a plug and play where you can do, all you have to do is bring a camera and a tripod. I'm going to hopefully get a tripod, a dedicated one here pretty soon, but until then, you would need some stabilization, something to sit your camera on to take a picture. Over here, across the room, this is a copy stand. This is a very traditional copy stand. It's actually pretty old, but it doesn't matter. It's not about the frame, it's about the lights. And these lights, which aren't brand new, but I do have daylight balanced bulbs in there. And I do think I have, nope, I don't have that one plugged in either. I have it turned on. And you can see I've got the lights set up at 45-degree angles. So what it's doing is it's setting up the light so that it crosses each other. The light here crosses. So when you have artwork that is set up on here like this, it's very even. It doesn't create any shadows. So you would put your artwork on the table here like this, flat. And then up here, this is where you attach your camera. And your camera goes here, and it will be facing down. So the camera is like attached like this, and the lens is facing downward. And it's facing downward at your artwork. And that's called a copy stand. So it puts the camera at a vertical facing down, looking down at the artwork. And because it has a little arm that lets you move the camera back and forth, kind of like the little winch, you can even move the camera outward the larger the artwork is and stuff like that. Like I said, it's a very traditional tool to use. And all you have to do is come over and turn the lights on, put your artwork there, connect your camera to this little screw here, and start shooting. Again, I'm going to continue to make this so that it is even easier to use. But for right now, it's as easy as I can make it. That's what we're here for, again, to help you guys with questions. I could even arrange later on to get together with a bunch of you to help this kind of stuff. I'll move in here, but I wonder if any of you are just, trying to think about, well, he's talking about all this stuff, but when is any of it due? You might be thinking about that. It's not due until finals week. So all of this is due, we're going to be preparing these things and make them due for finals week. Yes, I saw someone's hand go up. Was that on purpose or my mistake?
I was just saying what you said. I was saying, yeah, that's me.
Oh, right on. Yes. Yeah, we're looking at finals week. And what we want to do is have these presentations. They'll be sort of pre-recorded. And then we'll have those set up, and we'll give you an opportunity to kind of introduce your presentation. And then we'll be everybody together in this review where we can give you feedback and so on and so forth. So we're setting that up, and all the faculty will be there to regardless. The idea is that it is a kind of an opportunity for you to talk about what you're hoping to explore, what your intent is, and an opportunity for us to communicate with you, answer questions about what's coming up next. When I was in university, I went to University of Cincinnati for my MFA. There, what they did for the undergraduates, because I had already had my bachelor's, I was doing a master's, but all the students who were sophomores and they were going into their junior year, they were required to do what we're doing right now. The requirement was that they put together a presentation, and we did a review day, meaning we being, since I was a graduate student, I was put on one of the committees to review students. And we literally went from student to student in the entire building. It took 2 days. I was on a committee of 3 different people, other professors, and so on. I wasn't a professor at the time, I was just a graduate. But yeah, and we interviewed the students. They presented and we evaluated, gave them a grade basically. And some of them passed and some of them did not. Some of them were asked to resubmit, which meant that they got through the first 2 years, but they weren't admitted to the arts program, basically the upper division art program, because it's an achievement really to do that. We're not going to do that to you guys, clearly, but we do want to make sure that 1, you feel empowered about what you've learned, and number 2, that we know that we're serving you correctly, meaning we don't see any sort of blind spots in what we've covered. If we notice something that is sort of missing in a lot of students' work, most likely it's something that we've overlooked, which we're human beings, that can happen sometimes. It's not going to be something dramatic like, oh, we forgot to teach them about how to draw. That's not, we're talking about something relatively minor but important that we might have missed or might have been de-emphasizing that may need more emphasizing, like, I think we need to emphasize color theory a little bit more. We cover it, but maybe not enough, that kind of stuff. So yeah, finals week. The way I'll communicate with you guys is I'll continue communicating through Blackboard. And we will set up a blog, a class blog. They're very easy to use. Like I said, anybody who's had a class with me, you'll know that I use blogs in all of my classes. It's through Google, and so it never crashes. It all works. All you need is free. It's private, so it's not out there for everybody. It's just for the participants. You just need a Gmail address, which pretty much everybody on the planet has Gmail. So you're wondering, so this is where I am right now. I am in the interview room, room 135. This is the video interviewing room. And this is where we do like, reels for our Instagram and interviews with visiting artists and stuff like that. Again, we're still setting things up. It still looks pretty industrial. We're not going to try to make it look like a TV studio. We still want it to look rather like, hey, it's kind of a work in progress sort of thing, because that's what art is, work in progress. But this also serves pretty well as a room to do video. So you could be sitting here doing your presentation here, recording it on your laptop in this room, private, shutting this door, turning the really cool ring light on, which supposedly makes everybody look great. I don't know. I have a hair light on here shining on my head. Now, I probably don't need it because I don't have any hair to light. So I'm going to pop it off and you'll see this is kind of the look. You can also have a secondary light, which is over here, because you can see it looks like I'm a little bit too dark now. So there's other lights over here that you can then pop on. Kind of bring that intensity up. So then you have much more of this eyesight isn't picking up light very well, but you can see that it is creating somewhat even lighting on my face, even just super quick. I didn't move any of the lights. I just turned the ones on that needed to be on. The background, again, is a vinyl background that doesn't need to be moved. It's, you know, totally there. We do have some backlights that you can put on it. If you come in a little bit closer, a little bit tighter, that kind of thing, you can, when we get this, the rest of this painted out, it'll look pretty clean. You can get closer to it like this and fill the screen if you just have it, you know, a chest up kind of situation, like that. So it's, you know, it's here for you to use. When we have the carpeting down, we're going to have a drop carpet here. You're not going to hear the echo. I have no idea how the audio sounds, whether it's echoey or not. I guess I'll find out when I see the video. But this is where we can record you talking if you want. We can replace this and just put a green screen drop behind you, and you can do a green screen if you wanted to, and that's all perfectly well and fine. So we have several different areas for you to prepare these things because we want them to look fantastic. We want them to look better than everybody else's sophomore portfolios that have worked. We want these to look, you know, ready to go, so that even when you're graduated and you're out there, you're like, hey, here's my sophomore developmental portfolio presentation. And it's like, oh, wow, you were pretty articulate when you were a sophomore too. Wow, that's pretty cool. So we want you to be comfortable doing these kinds of things. We want you to be confident. And so that when you go out and you're doing them, and people are counting on you doing them really well, it's certainly not the first time, the second time, or even third time you've done it. You've done them many times, these kinds of things, and you are just comfortable doing them. We will have a dedicated camera in this room. We have one already, so that's going to be set up in here, as well as a microphone for use. So you won't have to use any of that. You just have to have a memory card for it. So that is basically the rundown that I have for you this evening. I have a couple of other things that I want to cover, but I can cover them at a different time, just in terms of sending like handouts and things. It's about like formatting like a cover letter and some basic things that really don't need to be done right now for you guys, particularly unless you're graduating. I mean, you do need those things when you're looking for like professional employment, but I'm more interested in helping you develop things like your vision statement, how to use a journal in order to develop those kinds of things. A journal is one of the most important tools to a visual artist, because it is the dialogue that we use inside of us that really keeps us generating new ideas all the time. The block for creatives only happens when we stop paying attention, when we're no longer looking, and so we no longer look when we're no longer paying attention to ourselves. And when we're paying attention to ourselves, recognizing how we feel about things, we become aware of everything around us. And when we're aware of everything around us, inspiration and ideas and the urge to make stuff is all the time. That's why people like myself and Dr. Wurst and Garcia and everybody else, we're all like crazy running around here all the time and then go home and make work. It's because we've found like this like life that is incredible. It's exhausting. And you can imagine, well, those people are there all the time. And yeah, we're here all the time. But that's because it's a tremendously rewarding and satisfying thing to do. And hopefully we'll be able to find together, help you find your space and your people that you want to be around, and where your inspiration is. So this is kind of like a phase of that, working out your developmental portfolio, kind of looking at where you've been and how it's moving you to where you want to go. So are there any questions from anybody? My battery's getting low, so I don't want it to cut out on us before we wrap up this evening. I hope this was helpful. I did record it, So I'll just throw it up on Blackboard so anybody can use it. I have no questions. Thank you for the tour. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I hope that wasn't weird. I thought, well, that'll work. And it kind of was a little more awkward than I thought it would be, but you know, I think it worked better than having you guys schlep all the way out here in the middle of the cold. So we made it work. Well, all right. Please keep looking at Blackboard. I will be sending messages. I'm going to go around to the different departments and things like that and get some instruction from people, some advice, hopefully recruit some other professors to join in here in this conversation. I am the director of the school, so you'd think I'd be able to say, hey, you come over here. But that's not how it works. I'm not that kind of a leader anyway. So, but we'll have the support that we need and get you exactly where you need to go, because that's what our mission is here. That's what we're trying to do. You guys made the right choice coming here at this time, because it's chaos sometimes, but it's a beautiful chaos that we kind of like. And it's hopefully the kind of world that you guys feel creative in. So that was basically the 5-week kind of jam session. We're going to be transitioning into the let's touch base, once a week or so through messaging. I'll give announcements. I may kind of set up opportunities for people to join me on certain days if you needed to. I'll be in the studio XYZ and stuff like that. Come join me. I'll be helping anybody who wants to and that kind of thing. So if there are no other questions, sounds good. Hopefully the weather, yeah. It's supposed to be beautiful this weekend. It's supposed to get up to like 15 degrees or so. So, yeah, I mean, Celsius, 15 Celsius. So that's like maybe in the 60s Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's going to be much nicer this weekend. Yeah. All right. Well, I love the snow. It's gentle snow, very polite snow here. I grew up in Florida, so snow doesn't exist, but in Cincinnati, man, Cincinnati's like, it's like angry snow. It like drives at you and like really like it wants to hurt you. Here it just kind of, don't mind me, I'm just kind of coming down and I'm gonna, it's so gentle. But except the wind's really it means what it really means what it says around here with the wind. You got to listen to it. So all right, everybody, have a good evening. Have a good rest of the week, and just keep an eye out for the Blackboard messages. All right. Okay. And if you see anybody, oh, you are so welcome, Reggie. If you see anybody else who's in the class and you see everybody's name up here, a few people were on and dropped off, but just let them know that I did record this and it'll be up on Blackboard so that everybody will be able to see me running around the building. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Good night.